Breaking news out of the world of politics, because former Vice President Kamala Harris, she is out with a big decision tonight, saying she will not run for governor of California. That had been a big question for kind of a while now, right? What would her next move be after she lost to President Trump in November? She says in a statement that for now, she looks forward to getting back out and listening to the American people and helping elect Democrats across the nation. Okay, so doors shut for 2026, but window open for 2028, perhaps? One person close to Harris says, yeah, she wants to keep that option open at the moment of maybe making another push for the White House next election. And that could be a very crowded field. Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker knows that. She's joining us now. This is big news in the world of politics, and specifically in the Democratic world of politics. It is not altogether unexpected, but there had been this huge question mark looming over the woman, the person who was at the top of the ticket last election. Tell us more about this decision, how she came to it.
This is a significant decision, Hallie, for a couple of reasons. It's significant for California. Let's start there, because it takes really what would have been the biggest name out of the Democratic primary for governor in that state. So significant for California. You're absolutely right. It opens the door for 2028. It would have been nearly impossible had she won the governorship. It would have been nearly impossible for her to all of a sudden pivot to campaigning for president. So the door is open for that. A source close to her says we might see her even engage in nonprofit work, maybe establishing a PAC. So all of those things could be steps along the way.
Establishing a PAC? I mean, is that not a signal that she is interested?
A big signal.
It doesn't sound like she's ready, even despite this decision, to let her political career fall by the wayside.
It absolutely doesn't sound that way. The statement did not sound like someone who is exiting stage left. It sounds like she wants to stay in the conversation. It is going to be an incredibly crowded field, Hallie. You already have a lot of big names who are getting a lot of buzz, including the current governor, Gavin Newsom, Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, various different governors, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, folks in the Senate as well. And so it's anticipated that whatever the field is, it's going to be a crowded one, and she's going to have to answer a lot of questions. Everyone who served in the Biden administration is going to have to answer that tough question about what they said and how much they revealed to the American public about President Biden's mental status at the time of the debate. It continues to loom very large over the Democratic Party and over those who served closest to him. Vice President, of course, there's no one closer, you could argue.
That's even if we start looking ahead to 2028, but well before then, Democrats seem to have some stuff to figure out now when you look at the polling, right? I mean, the lowest favorability rating from this new poll out of the Wall Street Journal in something like 3 decades here. You had Cory Booker, having a moment on the floor of the Senate yesterday and then saying afterwards that some Democrats want to effing fight. You look at what's happening in New York State, right, where you have Jerry Nadler being challenged by somebody who's railing against what they call the gerontocracy, for example. Like, there's a lot between age issues, between do you go left, do you go right issues, where do you pull on the spectrum of liberalism here? How do they do it, Welker? Take it away.
If I knew the answer to that question, Hallie, look, that's what makes this moment so fascinating. This is a party that is, to some extent, having an identity crisis, as you say, trying to figure out how to fight, what that fight looks like, what the messaging should be. And we're seeing that play out in the divides over that. Take, for example, how much focus should there be on the economy versus the Jeffrey Epstein matter, for example. There's debate about that small fact as we get closer to the midterms. And so I think you're going to see the party wrestle with these issues of messaging and of tone. Because to your point about Senator Cory Booker, look, he gave the longest floor speech in history. Now, of course, he's mixing it up with members of his own party, saying you're not showing enough fight here. And I think that's really where the dividing line is going to be. Where might former Vice President Kamala Harris fall in all of that? What types of decisions will she make about her tone? And I think that's going to be a big question. It's going to be something that people watch.
Do people think she would be helpful to them if she weighed in on the race one way or the other? Or is it going to be totally district dependent?
It'll be district dependent, absolutely. Because, look, you look at her own state where she ran behind former President Joe Biden. So it gets very complicated, but she will be out there, I would anticipate, Hallie.
And if she is doing anything, it's going to be on a Sunday on Meet the Press. One would assume.
So.
Kristen Welker, good to see you, friend. Thank you.
Great to see you as always. Thanks for having me.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.